Everybody, Andrew E. Guy here. I'm excited about today and want to say happy Black History Month. I'm excited about that. But there are a few things that I want to get through before we check out of this particular section, all right? I'm rocking my new gear here, sponsored by Excel to Wellness. And this is the new hoodie. I'm rocking it. Hope you like it. If you want to learn more about it, go to exceltowellness.com. And these individuals will be sponsoring me as we move forward for our podcast, Listen, I'm Ready, which is going to be relaunching again in the next month. But it says, I can only get better. And what a statement, what a bold statement. I can only get better. All right. So if you believe you can only get better, hey, my goal in life is to help empower those professionals, to help them bring clarity so they can live a radically resilient work life. And that's my goal. All right, so I'm going to de-hood now. We just kind of wanted to show you the new hoodie, and you can go check it out. All right, so we're talking about Black history, and it's not so much as Black History Month, but I want to talk about Black lived experience. Now, it can go in many different ways. It can go from an approach of hate. It can go from approach of resentment. It can go from approach of disenfranchisement. It can go from an approach of inequity. There's a plethora of ways that we can approach Black history. But I want to submit this to you. There is so much hate on the table as it, lends itself to people of color or Black indigenous people of color, BIPOC, so to speak, that it becomes so tumultuous to actually think about how in the world did these group of people manage to make it and are still making it in this time, in this era, in this time and age. And so I want to spend a little time with you to encourage you, to let you know that even though there's so much hate on the table, I want us to go and pick out only the nutrient stuff that are good to eat from the table so we can digest those and understand that, hey, you can only get better moving forward. Now, most people say to me, well, Andrew, when you talk about Black history, should we talk about, the atrocities that were committed against people of color? I say, yes, we want to talk about those because those are what we call lived experience. And a lived experience would be like past things that has happened in the past that, affect those individuals, but they still affect people today. I'm going to touch a little bit on what we call epigenesis and epigenetic study, on the theory of epigenetics, and why is it that Black people in the 21st century, I'm talking about 2024, are still negatively impacted by things that happened some hundreds of years ago. All right. I'm going to give you some science behind that to help you to bridge the gap, to help you to see that people are not just making this stuff. This stuff is for real and it impacts and it's transgenerational. Some things get passed along the way. What's my purpose? As I said, my purpose as a professional coach and a registered psychotherapist in Ontario, Canada, is really to work with those professionals to help them bring clarity, bring meaning to what they do for a living so they can live a radically resilient work life. I always say that if you're going to work for the rest of your life, why not make it the best experience ever? So I deliver coaching information, or I may deliver therapeutic intervention. So there are times when I am serving in the role of a therapist, and there are times when I'm serving in the role of a coach, a professional development coach. And more times companies will call me in to do a talk on mental health or mental wellness, be it anxiety, depression, and so forth. So those are some of the things that I do. Want to learn some more about me? Just go to andrewguyspeaks.com. All right, but here's what we're going to be dealing with for this session. Let's talk about Black history. What is Black history? History, as I would hyphenate his and story, is his story of what happened, what they documented. Now, is all of this history factual? It's left to be questioned, right? Because the authors of the story, well, they can make the story however they want the outcome to look. It's like the producer of a movie. The scriptwriter will decide this is what we want to happen in the movie, but there are a lot of things that may be left out in the movie for the sake of either production or for the sake of the narrative that they want to actually bring across to everyone, or the message that they want to leave on the hearts of men. When we talk about Black history, there is a lot of hurt, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of disenfranchisement, there is still a lot of pain, there's still a lot of trauma, there is still a lot of hurts that are still on the table, and we are feasting on this pain, hurt, and trauma, and we are still traumatizing ourselves some 100 years later. And so if you're a Caucasian, if you're a different nationality, you may say, well, why are the Black people still upset about, racism, or why are they still upset about inequality? Well, it's affecting us. It's has been infected the cells that actually are in our body. So we have been infected by the pain and the hurt, and we are now affected by the trauma that we're now reliving. I want to break down a little bit about trauma. What is trauma? When you think about trauma, I want you to think of trauma as an event that has happened, or a lived experience that the person, basically the experience have been saved in their cells. Like, memory cells have memory, right? For example, if you worked out a couple months ago and you stopped working out, if you go back and start to work out again, these memory cells that are inside the muscle tissue will get regenerated. And I don't mean recreated, but these cells, there's memory in there. It remembers what has occurred, right? The same thing that happens psychologically. So if something happened many years ago from a traumatic experience, be it a physical, be it a mental, be it a sexual, traumatic event that happened, the body kind of still remembers it. There's a great book that says the body keeps scores. You need to go and check that book, okay, by Dr. Band, all right? You need to go check that out. But I want to focus on Black History Month and some of the traumas that we're going through. And the purpose of this talk really is to help you understand that it has been said that we shall overcome. It didn't say that we may overcome. We shall overcome, right? It's like the Bible would say that it shall happen, thou shall. The shall meaning it's almost like a promise, like a guarantee that we shall overcome. And how we overcome has a lot to do with the outcome of the overcoming. What do I mean by that? So if we constantly beat up ourselves, if we constantly go back and relive slavery all over again, then we become the oppressors. We become our slave drivers. Bob Marley once said that emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop but the time. And when we look at that quote from the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley, there's some truth in that. That yes, the pain was already inflicted. The injury was already inflicted. But now we are the one that's now re-inflicting ourselves, and we keep reliving that trauma many, many years later. Why? I don't know if we got comfortable with being hurt, or is because we haven't learned another new way of doing things, so we keep hurting ourselves. Now, we're not the only ones to be blamed for this, because the hurt is now, instead of being physical, another kind of hurt that's inflicted is through the pen, the use of a pen. So when we say what's the use of a pen, that the signatures or the documentaries or what is written becomes a roadblock. So that means people of color, some will struggle more than the others. Only some doors they're able to access, right? So when we think of some of the roadblocks that are out there, it may not be a physical thing. It may not be covert. It may be like, overt. So there's covert and overt. One is openly, it's in your face, it's on purpose, and one is overt, one is undercover. Meaning that I'm giving you a smiley face, but deep down, I'm doing something else to you. We're going to come back with the next session. I'm going to give you some